Hello and welcome to The Voice of Iron, and in this session, we'll be reading Dreams of Rain, Tape 6. I was let go early tonight. Sort of. I mentioned earlier that I sent in my resignation to the scrapyard, 2 weeks' notice to be exact, but it's only been a week since I sent that message. To my surprise, I got a call today, just as I was preparing to head out to one of my last shifts. The caller ID registered that it came from level 40, so of course I picked it up immediately, and surprisingly, found myself speaking to Bill. "Kitt, you there?" he asked, sounding a bit different than usual. "Hey Bill, I was just getting ready to head out to work. What's up?" I replied, grabbing my boots and slipping them on as I set the house phone to speaker.
"Actually, Kitt, you don't have to do that. In fact, it's probably best you don't come to work. We've already got a replacement in."
I stopped, with one boot half on, eyes widening as I tried to clarify. "But my final night is at the end of this week. What happened? And what about the resignation package?"
Look, I'll send the bonuses from the package off later this evening. Just don't come to work. You quit, it's fine, we've got your shifts covered, just enjoy your newfound freedom. And go on that vacation you've always talked about. Soon."
As he spoke, I could hear something wrong. Bill is a jolly guy. Warm, always has that sound of a smile in his voice, except when the vending machine fails to dispense something. But today, he sounded nervous? It wasn't normal, that's for sure. "Bill, you okay?" I asked, concerned. "Want to talk about this over lunch or something?" I offered, my own voice softening to indicate no ill will. His response, however, was quite swift.
Kid, I got a lot of paperwork here, and we have to process a new rec. I gotta go, but, enjoy that vacation of yours. Take it. You earned it."
Just like that, the line was dead. He'd hung up, and I couldn't help but feel that I'd hurt him somehow. It was very uncharacteristic of Bill to be so rushed. He had this philosophy that if you rush in life, you die faster. So him being so inclined to get on the paperwork and his urgency that I take my vacation quickly unsettled me. Maybe he just wants to avoid confrontation? I asked myself, just leading to another sigh of guilt. He'd always been so understanding when I spoke about seeing the galaxy. But I suppose we both expected me to have been working there a lot longer. Given that my plan for the night was to work, I decided I may as well go for a drive. So I slipped my other boot on, ensured the magnets worked, and, after grabbing my keys, headed out to the garage. At this point, my work was just about done on Blue One. I'd even had time to spray the drive in the same stellar blue paint as her hull, so while it may have still looked like a box sticking onto the back of an otherwise smooth Astro car, it matched her style perfectly. I picked up a few more spare tools and dropped them into my toolbox, taking them with me as I stepped into Blue One's cockpit. Normally, I leave the tools in the garage, but I intended to spend the rest of the week packing everything I'd need for a trip and stowing it in Blue One's backseat/storage compartment. And, more due to serendipity than planning, this toolbox would become the first of that packing completed. After reaching back and securing it under the rear driver's side seat, I secured my harness and shut the door, hearing her airlock hiss, and got comfortable. Engine on, main power on, oxygen on, all systems green. Music tape playing. I flipped the remote switch to my garage door and glided her out into the zero-G airspace between the housing units, smoothly turning down the main way as the door automatically closed behind me. I passed by a few dozen decorated lawns, some housing units leaving their garages open. I saw one or two people going for magnet jogs about the walkways, each of them seemingly oblivious to the world around them. As I got close to the entrance, I called the control booth, as was procedure. "Attention, Sunset Station, this is Blue One requesting departure." After a moment hovering by the door, the controller's voice came on, a new one, youngish sounding, as she replied,
"Roger, Blue One, please stand by."
The delay was much greater than usual, and it felt very odd. I was almost getting a little paranoid, like I was being scanned. Maybe I was, though for what reason I'm not sure. Maybe the newbie's just trying too hard, I thought to myself to ease my nerves. Sure enough, a minute later the inner airlock began to open.
"Blue One, you're cleared to exit. Have a nice night,"
the controller responded as the radio went dead. I flew out onto the star lane, adjusting my maneuvering thrusters to swing around towards the slipstream, back behind Sunset Station. I looked around at the stars above, as my flight took me a fair distance away from most of the obstructive buildings and ships. I could see the colony proper in the distance, the great pyramid looming behind it, and all of it lit against the backdrop of that enormous blue Argon nebula. I shifted my focus back on piloting as I entered a rough patch on the slipstream, firing short bursts to swing around obstacles, avoiding the rears of some of the buildings I swung by. I really couldn't help but smile as I reached a great slingshot bend, waiting for that small gravity well to bring me mere feet from the backside of a colony ship, before blasting the forward jets and giving her rear engines a bit more throttle afterwards. The maneuver shot me right out of the slipstream and back towards a nearby star lane, up around Astra Station 237. After that, I glided right into the star lane proper, pleasantly surprised that nobody was out for the moment. Of course, this time of night, everyone was either at work or asleep. I had to chuckle to myself at that thought as I drifted in line with the star lane buoys. The fact that Astris kept time so strictly out here, it was just a bit ironic to me. I looked out once more at the sea of stars that surrounded us, all those pinpricks of light in amazing patterns spread all throughout the cosmos, and yet not one of them was anywhere near us. The closest thing to a sun in this system would be the Astris Pyramid, and not because it was a light source, or a source of heat. Oh, no. Quite the opposite, really, I thought, looking at it from here. That pyramid always gave off a cold feeling. The only reason I compared it to a star was its function, the center of our colony. Despite the megacity technically being the largest part of Novus, everything out here orbits the pyramid. The megacity proper, and all the little sub-communities like the one my housing station was located in, they all orbit the pyramid. Some days I think about how everything should reasonably be orbiting the city, but I suppose nothing about this colony was quite natural anyway. The city lights in the distance were bright, so many hues and patterns of lighting piercing the heavens all around it. I wondered how many of the stars I liked to look at each night were real, and how many of them were lively, bright cities like this one. It's a bittersweet thing to contemplate, and as I passed by some of the colony stations near the outskirts of town, I found myself blindly following the star lane, while all these thoughts swirled around in my head. It was night drives like these that had made me first contemplate leaving, and year after year of growing up and being beholden to the megacorporation, the desire just grew. So many stars, so many lights in the sky, and here I was, stuck at just one. My radio buzzed after a while of driving, breaking my train of thought. "Calling Blue 1, can you hear me, Kitt?" Mark's voice crackled in, and sure enough, there was another Astro car coming up not far behind. "I hear you, Mark. What's up?" I replied, firing a microburst of the retros to let him catch up. He took a while to respond, but eventually popped back in. I thought you'd be driving out here. Wanted to talk a bit. You got a few minutes?" That was odd. I thought I'd told him I would be at work tonight. Casting aside my doubt, however, I wasn't about to turn away a close friend. "Sure, man. How can I help?" "Actually, not radio chat. I meant maybe at your place," he requested, as a security patrol car pulled up, resting in off-duty mode, the logos of the agency deactivated for now. "Oh, well, sure. Was just going out for a drive anyway," I replied, swinging around towards home. "Thanks. I'll meet you there," he signaled, cutting off the radio and reversing course, swinging back around behind me. It was a bit unusual, but certainly welcome to have company. And given how on edge I've been tonight, I could use it. So we headed for home, leaving the pensiveness of the night drive behind and the pyramid to my tail. That concludes today's reading, and thank you for listening to my voice.